I'm Savannah. Sitting in a coffee shop, I stir my coffee absent-mindedly when a soft voice behind me says, Savannah. I turn around and freeze. It's Stella, one of Ethan's closest friends. The same Stella who sparked the conversation that led to the end of my engagement. Stella approaches me cautiously, as if I might run away. Hi, she says softly. Do you have a minute? Curiosity gets the better of me, and I nod. We sit at a small table by the window. Stella fidgets with her coffee sleeve, her eyes shining with nervous energy. I owe you an apology, she blurts out without preamble. I fold my hands, waiting. Okay, she swallows hard. I'm the one who asked Ethan if he was sure he wanted to marry someone who wasn't as ambitious as him. I said it stupidly, thoughtlessly. I never meant for it to turn into what it did. I listen as she continues, her words tumbling out. I didn't think he'd take it seriously. I didn't think he'd use it against you like that. And when I heard what he said in Miami, I was horrified. Why did you say it in the first place? I ask, not unkindly, just honestly. She lets out a breath. Because I'm insecure. My whole life, I've felt inferior. I try to compensate by having a fancy job, wearing designer clothes, and hanging out with the right people. When I saw you, so steady and unpretentious, I realized Ethan didn't need all my flashy nonsense. It made me feel replaceable. So, I projected my insecurities onto you and implied you weren't good enough. But the truth is, I was jealous that you didn't need external validation to feel secure. For the first time, I see her not as a polished figure in Ethan's social circle but as a flawed, human being. Thank you for apologizing. That takes courage, I say. She lets out a shaky breath, and relief softens her features. We talk for a few more minutes, just small talk between two women in the aftermath of a storm. When she leaves, I watch her walk out into the street, hugging her bag like a shield. And I realize, I don't feel angry anymore. Let me take you back. Before all this, my life seemed pretty put together. I lived in a cozy 2-bedroom apartment with a balcony full of plants that somehow survived my irregular watering. I had a reliable car, all my bills on autopay, and a retirement account I contributed to, even when it meant missing out on weekend getaways. I was the practical friend, the one who always had a backup plan. Then I met Ethan. He was 32 and worked in marketing for a well-known startup. He was charming, with an easy smile and a way of making everyone around him feel special. We were together for 4 years and engaged for 6 months. We talked about our future, about having kids, and buying a house once he got that promotion. I covered most of the wedding deposits because, as he liked to remind me, he was saving aggressively for our dream honeymoon. His friend group was all about status. They loved to discuss promotions, luxury cars, and the size of their houses. They rated restaurants based on how Instagram-worthy the food was. I always felt like the plain Jane at their gatherings, but I told myself it didn't matter because Ethan chose me. One night, during dinner, he barely looked up from his phone. Every few seconds, his screen lit up with messages from his group chat. When I asked about his day, he gave me short, clipped answers. Finally, I couldn't ignore it. Is everything okay? I asked, pushing my food around. You've checked your phone more than you've looked at me. He sighed, as if I'd interrupted something important. I had lunch with the guys and a couple of the girls today. They were asking about the wedding. Okay, I said slowly. And they were asking about you, he said, as if that explained everything. A chill ran down my spine. What about me? He put his phone face down, his fingers resting on it. Just what you do, your plans, the kind of life we'll have. You know how they are, always comparing. I tried to make a joke. Status Olympics, huh? But he didn't laugh. They think I could do better, that I'm settling, he said, choosing his words carefully. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard him. The hum of the fridge and the sound of a car passing outside were the only noises. My heart pounded in my ears. Your friends think you're settling by marrying me? They didn't put it exactly like that, he winced. They just don't understand why I'm okay with our current situation when I could aim higher. They look at you and don't see ambition. I let out a breathy, disbelieving laugh. I make good money, Ethan. I've been the one saving for the down payment on our house. You know that. I know, he said quickly. It's not about now. It's about the future. They were asking if I really want to be in a starter home forever. They talked about flying first class, sending our kids to private schools. And it made you realize what? I asked, my voice thinner than I'd intended. Maybe we're not on the same page long term. You're comfortable with your routine, your job, and your apartment. That's fine, but I want more. I want a big house in a nice neighborhood, to travel the world, and to give our kids the best. I'm not sure you're ambitious enough for that. There it was. Not impressive enough. Not ambitious enough. Not enough. I stared at him, the man I'd planned to marry, and it was like looking at a stranger. This was the same guy who used to brag about how reliable I was. Now, my stability was a liability. You've never said any of this was a problem before, I said quietly. When we sat on my floor with takeout menus and talked about our 5-year plan, you seemed happy with our simple life. That was before I really thought about what I wanted, he said, his eyes having an almost feverish gleam. Savannah, I'm just being honest. Don't you want more than this? I looked around his mid-range apartment. The same gray couch that seemed to be in every other apartment in the city. He was talking like he lived in a penthouse. I want a partner who values the life we're building, not one who cares about appearances, I said. You're making this about appearances, he snapped. This is about ambition and drive. No, I said softly. This is about you letting your friends judge our relationship and deciding I'm not good enough. He opened his mouth, then closed it. For a moment, I saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes. But then his jaw set. Maybe I do need someone who challenges me more, someone on my level. Silence filled the air. I could feel my pulse racing, but my voice came out calm. If you think you can do better, go find her. His head snapped up. Savannah, come on. Don't be dramatic. I'm trying to have an honest conversation. I'm being honest too. I'm not going to prove myself worthy of you and your friends. Either you want to marry me as I am, or you don't. It sounds like you don't. He went pale. You're breaking off the engagement over this? Over you, I said. Over the fact that you chose your friends' opinions over my dignity. I stood up, my legs shaking so much that I had to steady myself on the chair. I slipped the engagement ring off my finger. It felt like a heavy burden now. I'll return this tomorrow, I said, placing it gently on the table. And I'll cancel the vendors I booked tonight. You're free to aim higher. His voice rose. Savannah, wait. You can't just. But I was already walking towards the door. If I stayed any longer, I'd start begging him to take back his words. And I refused to plead for someone to see my worth. I drove home in a daze. I parked the car, stared at the steering wheel, and took deep breaths. I held back my tears until I was inside. I sat on my couch in the dark for hours, replaying our conversation in my head. Eventually, I shifted from heartbreak to action. If he didn't think I was good enough, he wasn't going to take the wedding I'd paid for. I opened my laptop and pulled up the wedding spreadsheet, with all the vendors' details and deposit amounts. One by one, I called to cancel. I lost a lot of money, but with each confirmation email, I felt a little lighter. The next morning, I took the $9,000 engagement ring back to the jeweler. After fees, I got about $7,500. I transferred the money to a separate savings account. Then I sent Ethan a text, ring returned. All vendors cancelled. You're free to aim higher. He called me immediately. I watched his name light up my screen 15 times in a few hours, but I didn't answer. By the end of the day, I blocked his number. I thought that was the end of it. But I was wrong. While I was canceling the wedding, Ethan was quietly rebuilding it in his mind. The first week after the breakup was surreal. People kept telling me that Ethan said we were just taking a break. I didn't correct them. I had my own mess to clean up, cancellation fees, contract confirmations, and the difficult task of telling my parents there would be no wedding. A few days later, my friend Lily, who worked with me and knew Ethan through a mutual acquaintance, told me that Ethan was still going to Miami for a pre-wedding trip with the guys. I was shocked. How could he act like the breakup never happened? That night, I opened Instagram and saw him grinning in a photo at a rooftop bar in Miami, with the caption "Pre-wedding chaos begins. Miami, here we come." There were heart emojis, fire emojis, and comments saying how lucky I was. My name was used in a narrative I no longer agreed to. I just stared at the post until my vision blurred and then closed the app. By the time the Miami weekend rolled around, I'd almost managed to forget about it. I spent that Saturday night doing my usual things, making a grocery list, doing laundry, and using a face mask I'd forgotten I had. I was in bed by 11 p.m. My phone face down on the nightstand. At 2:30 a.m. My phone started to buzz. I woke up disoriented, my heart pounding with the irrational fear that something had happened to my parents. I fumbled for the phone and saw an unknown number. Every instinct told me to let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Hello," I said. There was a burst of noise, music, and someone laughing in the background, followed by a choked sob. "Savannah," a woman's voice gasped. "It's me, Ava. Ethan's best friend since college." "Ava," I sat up, my heart rate spiking. "What's going on? Are you okay?" She sobbed harder. "I'm so sorry. I can't let him do this to you. We're in Miami. He's been drinking all night and told us everything about the breakup and his plans." My mouth went dry. "What plans?" "He said you ended the engagement because you were being dramatic. He laughed about it, like you were overreacting. And he said he's not accepting the breakup. He rebooked the venue, the caterer, everything, using his cards and his parents' money. He thinks you'll come around on the wedding day because you don't want to cause a scene." I swung my legs out of bed, feeling ice cold. "Ava, I broke up with him 3 weeks ago. I cancelled the wedding and returned the ring. I texted him he was free to move on." "I know," she said miserably. "That's why I'm calling. He's not right. Some of the guys are even encouraging him, saying all guys get cold feet and you're just scared." "Where is he now?" I asked. "He's passed out in the hotel room. But before he did, he said if you don't show up to the wedding, he'll tell everyone you were abusive and controlling, and he had to call it off. He thinks you won't risk people thinking that about you." My knees went weak, and I slid down the wall to the floor. This was beyond selfishness, it was dangerous. "Ava, does he have any of this in writing? Group chats, messages about the rebooked wedding?" "Yes," she said quickly. "He's been spamming our group chat with receipts. I have screenshots, and I'm sure Hannah does too. She was there tonight." "Send me everything," I said, my voice steadier now. "Screenshots, dates, times. Don't confront him yet. Just document." After we hung up, I sat on the floor in the dark, my phone in my hand. 20 minutes later, my phone lit up with a series of message previews. I opened them one by one. There was Ethan, confident and cocky in his texts. He was actively planning to make me the villain. That was the moment I knew I had to protect myself. By sunrise, I was sitting at my kitchen table, rereading the screenshots. Every message made me angrier. At 8:30 a.m. I was in a lawyer's office. I'd emailed him the screenshots at dawn, and he'd replied immediately, asking me to come in. His name was Mr. Thompson. He was in his late 40s, calm and reassuring. I explained the situation, Ethan's refusal to accept the breakup, the re-booked wedding, and the threat to fabricate abuse. Your ex-fiancé hasn't committed a crime yet, but he's very close to defamation or intentional infliction of emotional distress, Mr. Thompson said. His plan relies on controlling the narrative. He thinks people will believe him because he presents well. But you have documentation, which puts you in a stronger position. He laid out a strategy: document everything, don't respond to Ethan directly, and be prepared for him to go public with a lie. He also suggested I notify his parents, as the wedding was a family event. It was the hardest phone call of my life. Ethan's father, Mr. Harris, answered the phone. I took a deep breath and told him the truth: the breakup, the cancellation, and Ethan's plan to re-book the wedding and lie about me. Mr. Harris was shocked. He asked me to send the screenshots, and 20 minutes later, he called me back. His voice was shaky. I confronted Ethan. He admitted to re-booking the vendors. He claims he was drunk and it was a joke, but I know better. I'm bringing him home today and having a family intervention. I'll also call the vendors to cancel everything. Relief washed over me. Thank you, I said quietly. For what it's worth, I think you handled this with more maturity than he deserved. I'm deeply sorry, he said. Over the next few days, Ava kept me updated. Ethan's parents brought him home early from Miami. There were arguments, tears, and finally, he admitted the breakup and the re-booking. His friend group started to fall apart. People realized he'd been lying to them. A few days later, I got an email from Ethan. It was long, full of self-pity, and he apologized for his words but not for his actions. He asked to meet for coffee for closure. I deleted the email without responding. 2 months have passed since then. Life is slowly getting back to normal. I've gone back to the gym, caught up with old friends, and my apartment feels like home again. There are still moments when I'm reminded of Ethan, but they're like distant echoes. As for Ethan, he transferred to another office because he couldn't face people who knew the truth. His parents made him go to therapy. His friend group is in shambles. I still have the money from the ring refund in a separate savings account. I'm not sure what I'll do with it yet. Maybe I'll travel to a place I've always wanted to go. Or maybe I'll just keep it as a reminder that sometimes, letting go is the bravest thing you can do. I've learned that the right person will see me for who I am, flaws and all, and won't need me to be someone I'm not.